Hello everyone, welcome to Liam's Lyceum. I'm your host Liam, aka Himbar, and today I'll be doing another tag for you. So this is the book Dragon tag. It's created by Books Chaz. You should go check out his channel. I was tagged by T from an Erudite Adventure. Also go check out his and his sister's channel. It's a pretty simple tag. There's 10 questions. They each have a, I guess like a dragon character that the question's based off of. So let's get right into it. These are all my answers right here, so spoilers right there. Talindor, from Talindor's Guess, which is a book by Chaz actually. This is name a book with an enormous library or a book collection. So I decided to go with Book of the New Sun, specifically the first book, Shadow of the Torturous by Gene Wolfe. It's my favorite read last year. It's actually sitting #1 this year as well, because I finished the series this year. So really good. There is a scene in here with the library. I think you'll know what I'm talking about if you read the books. It is one of my favorite scenes from the book, and it's relatively early in the first book if I'm remembering correctly. Then was Saphira from the Inherited Cycle, which is Aragon and its sequels for those unaware. It says name a book or series that involves bonding to creatures. So I decided to go with the Summoner trilogy by however this person's name is, Taran Matharu. It's a trilogy, starts here with the Novice. I read this several years ago, and I did enjoy it. It's YA. It's definitely not something I'd probably pick up nowadays, but I mean, I enjoyed it enough to the point where I still have it. It definitely seemed like it was Pokemon inspired though. So yeah, that's that. For prompt number 3, I have Drogon from A Song of Ice and Fire. It says name a book series where one of the characters is virtually unstoppable. So I decided to go with Cole. Robbie Howard's Cole. The obvious answer I almost went with was Conan, but Cole is actually the predecessor to Conan. The first sword and sorcery tale is generally credited the Shadow Kingdom, which is Cole's first story, and he's very similar to Conan in a lot of ways. So, but he's practically unstoppable as well. So, Cole, if you want some old fantasy, definitely pre-Tolkien fantasy. Something that's probably more closely related to grimdark rather than the mythic stuff of Tolkien, check out Cole, or check out Conan at least. Okay, and then Balerion the Black Dread, which is from Fire and Blood. I don't even know what that is, to be honest. I feel like I should, though. Name a book or series that has gigantic beasts. Is that John Gwynn series? Anyways, so I decided to go with Sun Eater. If you've read Sun Eater, you kind of know what I'm talking about here. I won't really spoil the books for you, but this is a science fantasy series by Christopher Rocchio. This is book 1, Empire of Silence, so highly recommend. It's pretty popular on BookTube these days, so you've probably heard of it, but it is also one of my favorites behind Book of the New Sun. So. And then we have Smaug from The Hobbit. Name a book or series that involves talking animals or beasts. So I decided to go with Wars of Wrath, specifically book 1, Gurzel here by Anonymous, or everyone, he refers to himself as I, Anonymous, but it's Anonymous, right? Anyway, so Gurzel is a great book. I read this one earlier this year. I read it twice, actually. I listened to it one of the times, but great stuff. There is a sequel out, Bad and Hill. I've done reviews for both. It's actually one of my favorite books from this year. So there is also a dragon in it. His name is Gurzel. So, and then let's see, Falkor from the Neverending Story. I've never actually finished that movie, and I've not read the book, though I'd like to read the book at some point. Name a book or series where one of the characters is extremely lucky. So I decided to go with Master Chief, John 117 from Halo. This is Halo Oblivion. This is not the first book with the Master Chief. That would be this book, actually. Halo: The Fall of Reach. This is my old school copy. So he appears in a number of books. He's actually not, I could probably do some math on it. I don't think he's in the majority of Halo books. In fact, I generally prefer the books that he's not the main character, just because I like getting more expansions of the Halo universe. I'm a big fan of Halo. I was actually watching Halo World Championship for esports this weekend. But Halo, I think, has the big thing, right, for Master Chief. The difference is that he's not like the strongest, he's not the quickest, he's not the smartest of the Spartans, basically these super soldiers, but he is the luckiest. However that plays into the games, yeah, I'd figure that out, I guess. So then, let's see, Borch from The Witcher. I've never read those, don't think I ever will. Name a book or series with shape-shifting creatures. I decided to go with the Malagrum, which feature heavily in Chandrill's Saga, which is book 2, Crown of Fire. They're also in the Shadow of the Avatar series. Both those series are by Ed Greenwood. This is the book I had on hand. So Crown of Fire by Ed Greenwood has shapeshifters, Malagrum. Yeah, I mean, they're the Malagrum. I don't know how else to explain that one. Anyways, and then Toothless, How to Train Your Dragon. I at least have seen that movie. Name a book or series where someone must... I think there is a book, though. Is there? I'm pretty sure there's... I don't know. Name a book series where someone must tame or train animals. So I decided to go with... I don't know if must is the right word here, but for The Killing of Kings, which is book 1 of the Rings of War trilogy by Howard Andrew Jones. This is like sword and sorcery adjacent. It's pretty close. Jones is known for his sword and sorcery, though. It's kind of Zelaznian in style, actually, and audiobook's pretty good, too. So this is a pretty recent and good trilogy. If you like fantasy, like epic fantasy, I'd try it out, to be honest. If you know, because I recommend it, at least. And then we have Hungarian Horntail from Harry Potter, of course, which I have not read this book. It's Goblet of Fire, but I know that. I know, blasphemy. I read the first 2, it wasn't for me. Anyways, name a book or series that involves a competition. It's not exactly a competition, at least not like the one in Harry Potter, but I was going to go with Lean Times of Linkmar, which is a Falkor and Grey Master story, and Swords in the Mist. It's my old school copy. Great stinking story. It's hilarious, actually. That story makes me laugh. You just have to read Falkor and the Grey Master. Like, if you didn't get that already from watching my videos where I'm actually in front of the camera on my channel, then, well, get it into your head. You need to read Falkor and the Grey Master. It's great stuff. Liber is like no other. Oh yeah, last one. Errol from Guards. Haven't read that one either. I probably will read this one at some point. I need to get into more Discworld. I just feel like I can't give it the focus I want to right now, but I also am turned off by the huge chapters. Anyways, but I'll get over that, I'm sure. Name a book or series with presumed misfits, and I decided to go with Thieves' World. Just about every character in this series of Thieves' World are a bunch of misfits. They're not all necessarily thieves, but it's pretty interesting stuff. This is edited by Robert Aspirin and Lynn Abbey. The newer copies will say Lynn Abbey's name on it, the older copies won't. This is some great sword and sorcery shared world stuff, especially if you want some early shared world stuff. This is it, basically. You gotta go hang out in Sanctuary. These are some great stories or anthologies, because there's short stories by a bunch of different famous authors in these anthologies. I've only read the first 2 so far, but I will be continuing. To tag some friends, I did not check to see who has done this one or not, so I will tag Raph from Raph Blue Tax, just because I know he doesn't seem to get tagged all that often. So if you want to do this one, Raph, go ahead. And then I will tag Owen from Owen Edwards. If he hasn't been tagged, he might have been tagged. He might have even been tagged by T, to be honest. I don't know. I don't watch a lot of tags, it seems like. Anyways, I did watch this actually on Chaz's channel when he made it, though. You know, this is... I always think... I always have like a weird idea. This is... If you couldn't already tell from all the books and everything I said, I'm kind of contrarian by nature. Book dragon, that phrase just like irks me. It really does. And I realize that's what Chaz calls his like subscribers, his followers, which is cool. And I'm fine with that. But it's obviously like what that'd be weird if I wasn't fine with that. But I always just think the term bookworm is really cool, and I've seen that used before elsewhere as well, because like the idea, sorry, my phone is being dumb. The idea that like a worm in Old English, it means like serpent, so it can mean dragon. Obviously today it means worm, right? And so like if we call bookworms, you could say bookworm, and if you wanted to spell it differently so people know you're not just meaning like the little things that crawl around in mud, you know, you can spell it with Y, and then you get the idea, oh yeah, they're book dragons, but it's a pun because you're playing on bookworms. Anyways, cool. And it'd be bookworms or worms or whatever the heck. Anyway, so book dragons, right? Anyways, but maybe that's too complicated. But I don't really care. I guess that's just my type of thing. This is an aside, but I remember I write an okay amount, and I often feel like I'm using these like dumb words, and I'm like, people aren't gonna understand what I'm saying here, and I'm like, that's okay, they can figure it out if they want to. And I realize a lot of people are like, no, you have to have accessibility. I was like, I'm writing for myself. I like the challenge of putting funny words in there. I think bookworm is not actually even that challenging, I guess. But anyways, that's a completely random aside. I finished this tag a minute ago, so sorry for those who are still sticking around. But yeah, that's the tag. So I will sign off here. Catch you next time.